Today, we're diving into something that might just change how you think about, well, thinking. We're talking about the incredible, independent intelligence that's hidden right inside your gut.
You know the feeling, right? That deep intuitive hunch that you just know something is the right move or the wrong one, even if you can't quite put your finger on why.
Well, what if I told you that's not just a saying, that it's actually a biological fact? You have that feeling because your gut, in a very, very real way, has a mind of its own.
So let's get right into it. We're going to pull back the curtain and reveal the amazing science behind what many are now calling your gut's secret brain.
Okay, so the fancy scientific name for this second brain is the enteric nervous system, or ENS for short. And we're not talking about a few random nerve cells. This is a massively complex, intricate network that lines your entire digestive tract.
So just how powerful is this system, really? Let's take a closer look at the anatomy of this second mind to understand what we're dealing with.
Okay, brace yourself for this number. Your gut is packed with over 100 million neurons. That's just a staggering amount. It's this dense web of intelligence that's constantly sensing, processing, and acting, all happening right inside of you, right now.
And to give you some perspective on just how massive that is, your gut's nervous system has more neurons than your entire spinal cord. Think about that for a second. We think of the spinal cord as the central pillar of our nervous system, but our gut is operating on a level of complexity that's even greater.
And it's not just about nerves and signals. This system is a chemical powerhouse. Get this, a whopping 90% of your body's serotonin, you know, the famous feel-good neurotransmitter, is actually produced in your gut. The brain in your head, it only makes about 10%. That right there is a huge clue about how deeply our digestion and our emotions are intertwined.
So this is where it gets really wild. Can this system actually think on its own? Let's explore just how autonomous the gut really is.
Incredibly, the answer is yes. The NS is what scientists call semi-independent. It is so sophisticated that it can manage the whole show, the entire complicated process of digestion, all by itself. In fact, research shows that even if you were to sever the connection to the main brain, the gut would just keep on doing its job.
But hold on, what do we really mean by thinking? The brain's intelligence is what we're all familiar with. It's conscious thought, reasoning, planning for the future. The gut's intelligence is different. It's more primal. It's a kind of biological automation that's all about sensing the environment inside you and reacting instantly to ensure one thing: survival.
Here's exactly how that gut intelligence works in real time. The moment you eat, your ENS gets to work. It senses the specific chemical makeup of that food, the fats, the proteins, the acids. Then it triggers the exact right muscle contractions to move it all along, and it signals for the release of specific enzymes to break it all down. And all of this happens perfectly without you ever having to think, okay, time to release some lipase.
Okay, so if the gut can act on its own, what's its relationship with the brain? Well, they're not strangers. In fact, they are in constant contact. Let's dive into this gut-brain conversation. This whole communication network has an official name. It's called the gut-brain axis. You can think of it as a two-way biochemical signaling superhighway that creates a constant feedback loop between the brain in your head and the brain in your gut. And how do they talk to each other? The main channel is this massive bundle of nerves called the vagus nerve. Just picture it as a biological superhighway with information buzzing in both directions 24/7.
And you have absolutely felt this communication in your own life. When information flows from your brain down to your gut, that's when high stress can give you that butterflies feeling or even a stomach ache. But, and this is so important, the information flows the other way too. The microbes in your gut are constantly producing chemicals that travel up to the brain and directly influence your mood and anxiety levels.
And that brings us to the really big picture, this powerful, undeniable connection between our health, our mood, and the trillions of tiny organisms that are living inside of us. That's right, you're not just you in there. Your gut is home to trillions of bacteria, and all together we call them the microbiome. And these tiny passengers aren't just along for the ride, they are a major player in that whole gut-brain conversation, constantly sending out their own chemical signals.
This new understanding is absolutely revolutionizing medicine. Conditions that we once thought were purely psychological, like anxiety and depression, are now being directly linked to the health of the gut.
It helps explain why things like IBS so often go hand in hand with mood changes. And now, emerging research is even starting to link poor gut health to the risk for neurodegenerative diseases later in life.
So what does all of this mean for us on a personal level? Well, it kind of forces us to step back and rethink who you really are.
What's so fascinating is that while this all feels like cutting-edge science, and it is, in a way, we're just catching up to ancient wisdom. Medical traditions like Ayurveda and Chinese medicine have for centuries viewed the gut as a core center of emotion and vitality. They knew this stuff intuitively, and now we're just proving it with modern tools.
And this brings us to our most important takeaway. The next time you trust your gut, just remember, you're not just using a metaphor. You are quite literally listening to a genuine, intelligent, and very real part of yourself.
And so, we'll leave you with this one last question to chew on. If your sense of self isn't just locked away in your skull, then where does your mind truly end?